the first poll question that we're going to give is, would you know who to talk to in your business about water efficiency concerns such as leaky taps? So the answer is yes or no. And then the second one is, does your company measure its water consumption? So for example, by smart metering, we've got a yes, no, or don't know responses. So Gertrude, are you happy to launch the poll? And hopefully that will come across to everyone. Okay. Okay, I think we've got half the amount of people who have voted, so probably just a few more to come through. Okay, so if anyone hasn't voted yet, feel free to do it.
I haven't, Verity, but I'm trying. Okay. It's not doing anything.
Well, I'm guessing some of it is people that have organised.
I don't know if anyone can give me technical support on how to actually select an option. What do I press? I'm just clicking on
yes or no.
Clicking on yes or no, and it's not doing anything.
No, I'm not sure if it's co-host.
It might be co-hosting.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's
so
fine.
Other than that, actually, we might have the answers.
Yeah, probably we have. I think that's fine.
Yeah, fab. Okay, so we'll end the polling there, and the answers. I don't know whether it has the tool to probably share it, Gertrude, or I can just sort of detail it. But basically, the first question: would you know who to talk to in your business about water efficiency concerns such as leaky taps? Generally, everyone here did know, so that was yes, 100%. So that's really, really positive. So that's really the first major step, I think, in a business, to know who to turn to on those issues. Second question: does your company measure its water consumption via smart metering? So we had a bit of a cut here on 40% yes, 40% no, and 20% didn't know. So again, that's a really sort of interesting area as well, because that's really important on the sort of water efficiency journey. But we'll be detailing more about these types of areas later on in the presentation. So thank you for that, Gertrude. If we so now if we stop share results, I think hopefully that will go away. So thank you for participating in the poll. I will now hand over to Chris Beals from the Environment Agency to present on why do Reading businesses need to save water. Thanks, Chris.
Many thanks, Verity, and thanks very much for organising this along with everybody from Ethical Reading. This is a really good event to see, and hopefully will be part of helping to inform businesses and other communities in the town about the need to save water. My name's Chris Beals. I work for the Environment Agency. I was the chair of the Reading Climate Change Partnership up until last year, and I'm the theme lead for the water theme for our Climate Action Network. I'll explain a little bit more about that in a mo. One of the things that I'm going to try and do to make things slightly more interactive is ask a question of you on why is saving water important for your business. So yeah, there's no prizes, but yeah, we'll maybe get a few ideas into the chat window for that one. So anyway, I'm just going to do a quick 10 minutes setting the scene. So Gertrude, if you want to slide forward. So starting off with a basic question: where do we get water from? It's not a daft answer to say from the tap. We are incredibly lucky in this country, and certainly in this part of the country, that we have very reliable supplies of water from our taps. So it's not surprising that probably not a lot of people think beyond turning the tap on to where we get our water from. But of course, if you follow the plumbing backwards, we go to a water treatment works and then to the river. In fact, 80% of our water in Reading comes from the River Kennet, the very same river, in fact, that flows through the Oracle. So it's a very important river for us, and we are completely reliant on it for making sure that we do have that water in our tap. So if you slide forward, I'll just give you a little bit of pocket hydrology. I'm a hydrologist myself. On the left-hand side, you can see a picture of a sketch of a river catchment, and you can see the rivers threading their way across the landscape. Catchment is something we define as sort of anywhere that a drop of rain will essentially fall onto that area and make its way eventually down that river system towards the sea or to your town. This particular diagram is actually from the Thames Valley Flood Scheme consultation, which is something we're launching in the Environment Agency at the moment. So on the other side of the fence, on the flood side of things. But a couple of things to note about the Kennet catchment. It's quite a big catchment. It goes about as far as Marlborough. But the very important thing about it is the chalk catchment. The chalk hills of the Berkshire Downs act as a wonderful natural reservoir, helping to take the water in the winter time, sort of in simple terms, and then the water's gradually released from the aquifer through the months of the year, and particularly gives us the opportunity to take that water out of the river as we get towards the drier summer months. It's for that reason that we've got very hard water in Reading. If you slide backwards, go for it. And it's also actually one of the reasons why we're actually able to support towns of the size of Reading and our city of London in the southeast, which has got a huge population for the amount of water that actually falls on the ground. So if you do slide forward, one of the concerns we have, whilst we do have this wonderful natural resource, it is under pressure. We have a huge number of people using water, and as you can imagine from being from the Climate Change Partnership, very particularly concerned about climate change. I just read in the news today that we've just crossed another milestone threshold when it comes to climate change. We've just hit a CO2 concentration in the atmosphere of 420 parts per million, which is 50% more than pre-industrial times. Apparently bigger than we've seen in the last 4 million years, when the sea levels were 78 feet higher than they are now. So we're living in interesting times. The temperature of the planet's warmed up by about 1 degree so far. And you can see on that graph on the left, which is from my website, you can see the link there if you want to follow it and find out a bit more, the kind of trajectory that we've got for England, in fact, for this graph. Big choices. If we follow the Paris Agreement, we'll follow something like that blue line, limiting climate change to 2 degrees. But there's enough fossil fuels in the ground to go a lot higher than that, and we're currently on track for something like 3 degrees with the international agreement so far. When it comes to water resources, particular concern here is that with the heating up, we are expecting to get drier and hotter summers, which is particular concern about the speed that we can move into drought. And you can see in the bottom right-hand corner a picture of a river there with water in it, which is obviously bad for the wildlife, but it's also bad for the water company that wants to take some water out to make sure that it comes into that tap. We have a double whammy, of course, as well. There's a lot of growth in this part of the country, and you can see a picture there of some houses being built. We've got a big growth targets in Reading, but of course for us as well, any growth targets in the rest of the catchment in Newbury and other towns upstream of us mean that there's more people wanting that precious water for more thirsty mouths and sadly for more jet washing of driveways. So yeah, big pressure, which is increasing as we go forward. So we do need to save. And if you want to slide forward, please, Gerprit. We do have a plan for the town. One of the big things in my watch as chair of the Reading Climate Change Partnership was helping to guide the development of our Reading Climate Emergency Strategy. That's divided up into 6 main themes, water being one of them. And since I've handed over the chairship, I'm still keeping on the lead for the water theme, which is about both flooding and our water supplies. So do check it out. There's some really ambitious targets in there. Big focus for us over the next 5 years is very much about raising awareness. So events like this are absolutely perfect, a great opportunity to bring people on board with what we're doing and help to educate and inform. Membership of the water theme, we've got Environment Agency, Thames Water, University of Reading, various consultants, but we are definitely on for more people, more hands to join us. So if you feel interested, or anybody who's watching this afterwards feels interested in joining us, please do get in contact. It'll be fabulous. We are running a little bit late because of COVID, so our ambitious action plan is going to be a little bit squeezed, but that's probably the same as a lot of people. So moving towards the end, Gertrude, if you move forward, so as I said at the start, I said I'd ask this question. So why is saving water important for your business? I've got a few ideas myself, but if you want to add anything into the chat window, please do. And yes, I'll see if your ideas match mine, or you've got some good ideas to share with me that I can take forward. So I'll give us a minute for any ideas that come forward, and we'll move on. And if you have any great solutions for how we can fix the gap in our water, that would be fabulous, because we're certainly going to be under pressure as we move forward through the century. So, we got anything coming through?
I just added one, Chris. I'm muting it.
Cool.
We've got an answer from Sarah Dewar. So I said, seeing as you can't see Chris, so I'm going to say, because it reduces negative environmental impact, way more important than saving money. Arthur said, reduce costs. Sarah said, seems to me to be something that should be reasonably easy to tackle with big impact, which I think is really important. Yeah. That's
lovely. Okay. If any.
Oh, Lars has added one as well. So Lars said, creates employee engagement around sustainability. Another great point.
Fabulous, fabulous. Gertrude, if you want to slide forward, I think you've come up with some ideas that I think I captured as well. It's important to say, we had the saving money thing there. One of the things we do have in the UK is very, very cheap water. We're very lucky for that. So it does save a little bit of money, particularly if you're a big water user, but it's not a massive driver, but certainly it does save some energy. On the drive towards net zero, the drive towards trying to deal with climate change, I do need to double check the stat, but I think the UK water industry uses about 1%. I can't remember if it's 1% of our electricity to pump water around. I just got back from a camping holiday, and lugging water back to our pitch on the campsite, you certainly realise how heavy water is when you have to carry it. So it saves energy by cutting our water use, particularly hot water. The carbon footprint of our homes is dominated by hot water nowadays. It's a huge part of the energy footprint. But I think one of the main things to say is, whilst it won't save a lot of money, it's part of a collective effort. We all need to reduce our consumption to mean that there's less risk of us running out of water when droughts do happen. So that's both domestically and businesses. Because when we do run out, of course, we run into problems. And what I've said there, no flushing loo equals no work. Yeah, and I've been there as well. We had to shut the office down because not because of drought, because of a burst water main, I think it was. But yeah, literally, if you can't get running water to your toilets, you can't run your business or open your shop. So hugely significant for business. And I think we've got somebody mentioned about the good water habits. It's really important, actually. I mean, if we can get into good habits at work, it's a good way of encouraging and inspiring employees to take those ideas home and spread it to schools and hopefully everybody picks up on the need to save.
Before we move on, Chris, can I just mention that I've got another comment here from Nicola.
Yeah, go for it.
She said water consumption is included in our carbon footprint reporting. So albeit a small percentage of total, that's another angle to promote, i.e. reducing use can help reduce carbon footprint and therefore our carbon net zero target. Definitely does. Yeah. Yes, that is very true. Yes. And of course it's it's vitally important. If we run out of water, it's bad for all your employees' well-being. If employees' well-being isn't good, then you don't get happy employees working. So it's all very important. I think I've bumped into the end of time there. So I hope you found that a useful launch to this event here. So if you've got any questions, please do raise them at the end. But I think I now hand over to Sally from Thames Water. So thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, Chris. As he says, I'm Sally, I'm from Thames Water, and I'm sort of responsible for all of our water efficiency projects that are focused on business activity. I'm hopefully going to talk to you a bit and help you save water in your business. So next slide, please. So as Chris touched upon, one of the main issues we've got going forward is actually the demand for water is increasing. So that orange line at the top there, you can see as time goes on, population growth is increasing, but we've only got a limited supply of water, and actually that supply will go down over time, and so the gap between our supply and demand is increasing. And you say Thames Water, you supply water, you get paid for water. Why on earth would you want people to save it? But this is the reason, is we actually don't have enough to go around. And in dry years, we will definitely have a shortfall of water. We had one last year. We very, very nearly lost supply to quite a few homes and businesses in Aylesbury, who are sort of at the end of one of our branches. And so, it is a real problem for us. And the only way that we can sort of combat that, we can bring in new water resources, but essentially, there's no new water. The water that is around is the water that exists. We can build the odd reservoir, but it's not going to make the drastic impact that we need. That is going to come from reducing demand. And we're trying to tackle that. We engage with all our customers. We send out all the messaging. We have got the biggest smart meter rollout in the country. We're not replacing anything with a dumb meter anymore. We only have smart meters. We're tackling leakage. Funnily enough, everyone moans at Thames about our leakage, but it's actually exacerbated by the increased demand. So the more pressure you put on our pipes by trying to draw more water through the system, that's when leakage increases. So we're doing everything that we can. But it's only going to get worse as demand increases. And then obviously water efficiency, which is why I'm here. This is our biggest water efficiency project that we've got running in the business sector. And what we do is we have a team of plumbers who will come into your business completely free of charge, and they will fit water efficient kit. We are sort of trying to do a broad spectrum approach. So we're only really focusing on domestic water use, which is the use of water that you would use at home, but in the business. So things like taps, toilets, showers, all of that stuff, that's the things that we will focus on. We don't really touch on process use or manufacturing or anything like that. And And as I say, we have our plumbers, they'll come in, they'll fit this stuff free of charge. We'll also fix wastage. So we'll fix leaky taps and leaky loos. And this programme at the moment, it's been running for 5 years. We've done about 9,000 visits, and our average saving per visit now is between 2,000 and 3,000 litres per day. Next slide, please. This is just going into a bit more detail about the things that we fit. So we fit saver flush bags, which are essentially the modern day version of a brick in the cistern. If your taps will allow, then we'll fit tap inserts to regulate the flow. Same with showers, we will install devices in the showers to reduce flow there. And then really importantly, the sort of big thing that we do is we fit urinal controls. So these are sensors that mean that the urinal will only flush when someone has used the bathroom. Because if you think about it right now, there are loads of buildings at the moment that are unoccupied. And if you don't have a sensor installed on your urinal, the whole time, this whole year, they've just been filling and flushing, and that happens 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we install those to minimise the amount of water wasted by urinal flushing. And then, as I mentioned, we also fix things. So if you've got any leaky taps or any leaky loos, we'll come in and fix those free of charge as well. Next slide, please. Just going to go into a bit more detail about the most hated thing as part of my job. I hate leaky loo. We talk about them all day, every day. And this is because they're becoming more and more common, and they waste an awful lot of water. So the diagram we've got there up in the top just shows the sort of amount that you can waste. You might not think that there's very much water going down the loo, but as you can see, it soon adds up, and not just in the amount of water that's lost, but the amount of money that you're spending on that wastage. We're finding this problem is more common now as more people are installing the push button loos, the dual flush toilets that we have. The mechanism, the way that they work is there's a sort of rubber seal at the bottom, and the mechanism sits against that rubber seal to stop the water. And then when you press the button, that lifts up, lets water down, flushes the loo. And it's those rubber seals that we're finding cause real issues. They degrade. The picture that's down in the bottom corner there, that's from one Smarter Business visit that we did, and all of those are degraded seals that we found just on one business. So you can imagine how much water was saved as a result of us going in and fixing that for them. But yeah, it's really common, especially in areas such as this. Limescale can build up, things like that. The manufacturers say that they are a combustible part, and so it should be replaced often, but no one really knows that, and so no one really looks at it. So we go in and do it for them. And that graph there just shows, that's a smart meter graph that shows where we fixed a leaky loo, and after we fixed it, the water consumption goes back to zero on a regular basis again. So it's just sort of highlighting the issue that one loo can cause. And obviously in a business, you're likely to have more than one. And generally speaking, if they were all installed at the same time, it's quite common that they will all fail at the same time as well. Next slide, please. This just sort of highlights everything I've just said, really. So the excuse me, the big bar right in the middle there, that is a dual flush toilet. So what this is showing us is that when we have a leaky loo on a business site, if it is a drop valve or a dual flush toilet, that is the one that will fail the biggest. So, you know, the first bar there shows the sort of average wastage across all the businesses that we do. But if we took out everything else and just focused on the dual flush leaky loos, they would be the one that would waste the biggest amount of water, especially when you compare it to something like a leaky tap. Okay, next slide, please. This slide is here to sort of highlight the different savings that we get from the installs and fixes that we do. So generally speaking is things like the toilets and the showers and the tap inserts that sort of people get excited about, and they're like, oh, free things. And they're the sort of thing that draw people in to get a visit, but actually they don't save comparatively that much water. So these two charts are exactly the same. It's just showing the values in a different way. So the one with the numbers on, that's a number of litres saved per day. So you'll see sort of taps will save 17 litres per day. It's just a nice thing to do. Obviously, any water saving is good for us, but it's the leaky loos and the urinal controls that we install that are really where we see the big differences made. So if you are going to do one thing, I would pick one of those bigger pieces of pie rather than the smaller ones. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, we've done quite a lot of these visits now, and these are the sort of types of businesses that we've been to along the bottom, and then the numbers are the average amount of water that is saved per visit. So even though our average overall is between 2,000 and 3,000 litres per day, different types of business have a different average. And obviously, if you sort of think about it, it's the businesses that have got loads of toilets, loads of showers, things, and loads of visitors as well, that tend to have the biggest savings. But just because you're a smaller business, say a hairdresser, doesn't mean that you're not going to save water by having a visit. There's still water to be saved, and these are daily amounts. So this is how much water you will save per day. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, this is my last slide. So you'll get rid of me soon enough, but just to cover off water meters. They're really talked about all the time now, and they are really the best way to measure how much water you're using and also how much water you're saving if you do want to take any interventions. As I said at the beginning, we're only installing smart meters now, so if your business is in a Thames area and your meter is being replaced, it will be replaced with a smart meter. We are also installing a lot more masts as well now, so more businesses and more homes will be able to have access to that smart meter data. But even if you have a dumb meter, you can still measure your consumption. The easiest way is to just take some regular readings before you do anything and some regular readings afterwards, or if you just want to know, sort of get an idea of how much water you're using every day. The more you read it, the more accurate that data will be. So yeah, data is key really to finding how much you're using and how much you're saving. And that is everything from me. Like Chris said, we'll take questions at the end and everything. So if you do have anything burning, we'll stick around at the end so you can ask anything you like. Now I'm going to pass over to Donna, who's going to discuss what Hammerson are doing to help reduce water demand.
Hi, thank you, Sally. Okay, we can move on from that serious looking picture of me. Okay, so just for a bit of background, I run Coriander Cows, which is a sustainability consultancy. There's a group of associates. We put together strategy and plans and different campaigns for companies who want to become more sustainable. And I've worked with Hammerson for a long time now, since probably 2013, maybe even before that, a long time, on and off on various projects, and I've been involved with their net positive commitment from the beginning. And my involvement here is that I'm leading the water strand of the net positive work. If you don't know Hammerson, they are a real estate company. They own destinations, both retail and residential now, across Europe. Lots of flagship destinations that you may have heard of, so Bullring in Birmingham, the Oracle in Reading. As you live close by here, Cabot Circus in Bristol is probably another one that you'll be aware of. And they are also now developing what are called city quarters, so looking at the urban environment as a whole and not just the retail element of it. In 2015, the commitment was made, but it actually came out publicly in 2016/2017 that Hammerson committed to become net positive for carbon, water, resource use, so that's the waste they produce and also the materials they use, and socioeconomic impacts by 2030, which is at the time was industry leading and still remains one of the most comprehensive net positive commitments from any company, not just a real estate company. Next slide. Okay, So I just touched on this. There's a lot of detail about this on their website, hammerson.com, and there's also sustainability.hammerson.com if you want to read around net positive. It's a very complicated area, and because there's no one defined definition of some of these terms, it's really important to dig a bit deeper into the commitment itself. And Hammerson's is really very well thought out, and the footprint they've included in net positive is quite huge, and it actually develops over time, so that scope gets bigger and bigger with each phase and comes on to include tenant impacts at some point, which are scope 3, and it's very rare that they're being included in a footprint. With regards to water, we're looking at the water that's used in the communal areas of the assets, so the public toilets, and any water procured on behalf of the tenants within the Oracle and all of the other assets that they have, retail parks, and all of the water used in development, which includes extensions, refurbishments, fit outs, anything like that. So it's a big water footprint. Next slide, please. There's some key features of the net positive work for water. The major thing is the focus on reduction first. So looking across the assets, smart metering has gone in across all of the assets now over the last few years, and Verity will be able to talk through a little bit of that when she's looking at the Oracle and how we've looked at some of the data. There's been water efficiency audits across a number of the centres, and obviously this partnership with Thames Water that we'll go into a bit more detail about has been looking at reductions, not just in the controlled areas by the landlord, but also in the tenant areas, which is classed as offset, which I'll touch on in a bit. Water efficient design is obviously major importance, so developing these new retail destinations and also now residential, setting very clear water use targets and ensuring that they're taking into account everything from the landscaping through to the fit out of the equipment that's put into the building is to be considered. And where possible, an investment in water harvesting and recycling on site. Somewhat harder, as I'm sure a lot of the people on here that are in the water industry will know, on existing assets, but certainly the newer assets that are coming in, and some older assets have had that put in at a later date. And then offset projects really was what we're talking about here. So in order to become net positive for water, Hammerson needs to deliver projects that will save water elsewhere outside of their own net positive water footprint. And because the tenant water use that they procure themselves is outside of the net positive footprint, that means anything we can do to get those tenants to reduce their water use can be qualified as offset. And we very much try to take an approach of water neutrality. So we're trying to work with people in the given area of water use. So as, for example, offsetting the Oracle's water use by reducing water use amongst the community or with tenants in the Oracle is the ambition. Next slide, please. Oh, we're on to Verity now. Sorry, I thought I had another one. I'll hand you over to Verity, who's the environmental lead at the Oracle.
Okay, thanks so much, Donna. So yeah, as Donna mentioned, so I'm the environmental and community coordinator at the Oracle Shopping Centre in Reading for Hammerson. So obviously lots of people on here would be local anyway. So it's located in the town centre of Reading. It's been around for quite a few years now. It's sort of almost, sort of going over 20 now. So it was built back in 1999. Huge number of tenants. So there's 99. If you've visited the Oracle, you'll know that there's also the Riverside space as well, which has a large selection of food and beverage, restaurant retailers. And then you've got a big old mix of, clothing, stationery, healthcare, etc. All these different types of businesses in the centre. It gets a huge amount of footfall every year. It's shocking actually how many people visit, even during the pandemic. It's amazing to learn about the figures. So pre-pandemic, the footfall tended to be around sort of 12 million visitors a year. At the moment it's still really, really high, so that's really, really positive. You know, sort of as flagged by Donna, under the Hammerson net positive strategy, the Oracle as well has its own strategy for water saving, which is delivered for our positive places plan, which is basically our action plan on different project delivery across areas such as resource use and water being one of those as well. So for 2020, we had a target to reduce our water consumption by 5%. We did actually achieve a reduction of 37%. From the Thames Water Smarter Business Initiative, which I'll talk about a bit later, we did actually notice that we had a huge amount of savings from that project, although also we, you know, acknowledged that 2020 was a very highly unusual year from the pandemic. So a lot of lockdowns and restraints on businesses and their operations. So that obviously impacted the water usage. At Oracle, we also have smart metering across all the tenant areas. We're doing projects on this to increase the number of meters we have. And we have a clever platform called Invisi that lets us look at all the data from our meters. And yeah, we've got lots of large and small scale projects that we do, you know, and another key sort of item that we have is in the customer toilets as well. We've got the Propel Air toilets that save a huge amount of water for us. So it's something that we're always looking at. We have targets every year. And so the Thames Water Smarter Business Initiative was a great project for us to get involved with. Next slide, please, Gerrit. So just to chat a bit about it, really. So obviously we had a big old gap with the pandemic upsetting everything, but we took part in the Smarter Business Initiative back in October 2019. So as part of that, we had a number of plumbers visit the site. We had a huge number of our tenants sign up. When the plumbers came on site and arranged a visit to look at all our tenants' toilets, you know, kitchens, back of house areas that might use water, it really caused minimum disruption to the business as well. They're very quick and efficient to go all across site and look at the taps, the loos, everything we had. So that was a really great part of the initiative, which we were really impressed by. As a site, we just had to make basic arrangements for access for Thames Water. So again, that, you know, that wasn't actually a huge amount of work at all. Just a bit of communication and some guidance on the day of where to go. We also did a risk assessment as well, and they provided paperwork as well for the visit. But again, it, you know, was very low scale on workload, so really easy to sign up. And we also created a WhatsApp group to facilitate communication on site. So again, that was really quick and easy, because if they went to a business which, you know, maybe had a different member of staff on and wasn't quite sure for whatever reason of, you know, why there was a plumber at the door, we're very able to quickly remediate it. But generally, we didn't have any problems with it. Everyone on site was generally really aware of the plumbers coming in, and we're just sort of really grateful. And then from that work, we also did a follow-up audit with a consultancy called Ricardo, and looked at the data that Thames Water had pulled for us, and looked at businesses that had excessive water use. So again, it really, really helped to map out what the Oracle's water usage was in a huge number of areas, which otherwise, you know, we would have had great difficulty getting that information. Next slide, please. So here are sort of some of the headliners that we got out of it, and you can see that there's a, you know, huge amount of work done in a small amount of time that gave a huge amount of savings. So it was quite remarkable. So 69% of tenants, so, you know, you've got about 99 tenants in total or so, so about, you know, about 70 or out of 99 or so had leaks or inefficient equipment. 11 of them actually had more than one leak, and 4 actually had more than 3 leaks. So it was really worthwhile to get involved with this, because obviously it saved them money. We weren't actually aware of the leaks in the area. And as you can see, a huge amount of leaks identified, with savings of 1,250 litres a day, but a huge amount as well, as you can see, of tap inserts, 95 saver flashes installed, and 6 urinal controls. So again, really, really positive, sort of all 3 devices. So really, really worthwhile, and an estimated saving of 100,000 litres a day, which is incredible. Next slide, please, go for it. We had really positive responses from our tenants, and from my perspective, being an environmental coordinator overseeing the performance of it as well, it was really, really valuable, because Thames Water pulled together a sheet for us which listed all the tenants, all the taps, all the toilets, everything they had. And as an environmentalist, that information can be really hard to get, especially when you're only 1 deep and you don't know how many taps or things like that people have. So it was really useful just to have that, and then obviously to have the further information of, okay, what devices were installed and how much we saved. So that was wonderful that Thames Water pulled that together for us. And as you can see, we had really positive feedback from the tenants. So all bar 1 here, 4 tap inserts installed, a leaky tap replaced, toilet filling valve changed, and they're estimated after the fixtures to save just under 10,000 litres of water a day. You can see some of the comments here. They really highly recommend it. Thames Water were highly efficient, help them save money, time on getting a call out. So really, really positive stuff there. So we couldn't really sort of promote it more. Okay, fab. And so just in summary then, I will then pass over, I believe, to Donna, just to talk about how you can get involved with the Smarter Business Initiative to have this type of activity carried out in your business. Next slide, please, get prep.
Sorry, let me just unmute myself. Thanks, Verity. Okay, so this slide covered off a few bits, but really it was, if I was going to give any prompts as to next steps after this, these would be the sort of main questions that would get you started, I think, on the journey. A lot of the time, people don't know who to contact if they spot an issue in their leaky loo or any sort of water concerns. So first, find out who it is that looks after your water. It's likely to be the facilities manager, but if you're a smaller organisation, you may well not have a facilities manager, so it's more likely to be someone in finance. Find out who that is. They'll probably have the greatest interest initially, although I would argue that the bits that people said earlier about engaging colleagues in sustainability is probably a bigger hook with an organisation than the money. Another important thing is to find out if you're on a fixed water service charge or if you get metered bills, because then you'll know if you can check your consumption, whether it's going up or down. It's really nice to give a bit of feedback if people do start to behave more efficiently, or if you put new technologies in. If you do get metered bills or you have access to a meter, it just lets you check in on that. If you can't, if it's a fixed service charge, then you will get assumed savings, like Verity's just talked through, which are really quite motivating to do more. And then lastly, really thinking about how you can engage colleagues in reporting leaks and using water wisely. And people overthink this one a lot of the time about how they could possibly get them involved. But honestly, you just need to remind them that if they care about the aquatic environment and anything that lives in their rivers or the health of the river nearby, then they care about water efficiency. And once they can connect those dots, they're pretty quick to get on board. If you are in a position where your business leases the premises, or you have a contact with the person with whom you sort of will be responsible for the fit out, so the toilets or the kitchens in your unit, then get permission from them, and then you can get in touch if you would like to get one of the smarter business audits done. It's really quick to arrange. The team are great, as Verity said. They're really nice to work with, really helpful, and you'll probably find that give you little tips on site outside of the technology fit outs. If you can try and get in touch with me before the end of June, that would be great, with a view to us booking the audits in July, just so we keep the team working in smaller areas, thinking sustainably, and also so that we can connect things back to this workshop and share the findings of everyone who was on the call. If we've gone on to do things again, that's quite nice to see whether anything's happened off the back of this. My contact details are there, and I think, do the guys get a copy of these slides, Verity? Hopefully you do. Yeah, I can see nods. So yes, you'll get that, and that's my contact detail there. Just email me, and if you've got any questions about whether or not you're suitable, then I can come back to you on that. And if I can't, then Sally or the groundwork team who run the audits will be able to. And now I am back to Catherine from Ethical Reading, who's going to talk to you about the Sustainability Champions. Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks very much for that, Donna. So yeah, guys, you'll all get some follow-up emails after this, and Donna's contact details will be in there, so the calls to action will be there, so you don't need to worry about having noted that down. So yeah, just a quick little summary about our sustainability champions. I know a couple of you on here are sustainability champions already, so thanks guys for joining us. For those of you who aren't, I'd just like to give a little summary of what it's about. So the idea is that Ethical Reading, we're trying to connect people who consider themselves to be a sustainability champion where they work, because we want to bring them together for mutual support and inspiration. So we normally do that through events like this, but exclusive events that are only for those sustainability champions. We also now have a branch of a forum. So the forum is called Sustainers, and it's actually a global forum for people who are passionate about business sustainability. There's more than 500 people in there. It's been going just over a year, and we've now got our dedicated branch on there. So that's a fantastic way to network with each other locally, but also reach out to a much wider network of people who are really knowledgeable and can provide great support. So really, I would encourage you to do that. If you would be interested, just drop us an email. So you'll see the email address there, sustainability@ethicalreading.org.uk. We've got 83 people at the moment, and we're really looking to connect more. And the more of us are connected, the more we can support each other and the more value we can offer. So please do join us, and feel free to share that with anybody else you think might be interested in becoming part of that. Thanks very much. Now over to Verity.
Lovely, great. Thanks for that. So if I maybe just share, obviously, just in terms of what's come up in the chat, if I go for my last point first, are there any sort of questions that sort of have arisen? Emily, is there anything that you think is worth pulling out that we can answer, that anyone has for any of the speakers?
Yeah, so Nicola asked, is there an agreed standardised methodology, RE water offsetting, that could be shared? So I think maybe that could be for Donna to answer.
Thank you.
Verity, should we quickly run through that slide first before we get to the questions, and then we can deal with the questions in the informal session later?
Yeah, if you want, we can come back to that. On those other items then, so we will be sharing...
Could you reshare the slide? Sorry, thank you.
Okay. Thanks. We will be sharing out a post-event evaluation. So as mentioned, you will have Donna's details on that. If you do want to sign up to the free audit with Thames Water and have them come to your site to do all this water saving assessment and fittings for free for you. We'll also then email you in a week's time with a link to a quick survey, just to find out about what any actions that you've taken. So that'll also just help us to look at where we're reaching out to the network, and whether, just as a reminder that this is available for you, just just in case other bits and pieces pop up. We've also got the Ethical Reading different social media channels. So just a plug really to remember to follow us on social media. There's a huge sustainability network and there's so many contacts on there and wonderful comms that come out. So as an environmentalist, it's so valuable to be a part of that. So definitely raise that. And I guess, just obviously sort of just a general thank you for coming. Obviously sometimes things are hard at the end of the day, but we really, really sort of appreciate it. And we really, really hope as well, I mean, definitely coming from the Oracle's experience, that, you guys hopefully sort of sign up for the Thames Water Smarter Business Initiative and really drive some of those water savings for your own business. And we hope that you've got some really interesting points out of this. So thanks to all the speakers for coming on today as well. We really, really appreciate that.